All right, let's dive right into this explainer and look at a massive tectonic shift happening right now between American corporations and the Chinese consumer market. Really, this is a story about global giants who thought they had the whole narrative figured out, only to find the ground completely shifting beneath their feet. For decades, the status quo was just simple. 1.4 billion. That number alone represented an absolute gold rush. China was the ultimate growth narrative for American businesses. It was universally viewed as this land of boundless opportunity, where honestly, merely showing up with a famous Western logo was often enough to capture the attention of a rapidly expanding middle class that was eager to spend. But wow, has the plot twisted. Even absolute titans like Nike, a brand literally synonymous with unquestioned global dominance, have seen their China business shrink dramatically. We're talking a drop of over 30% since 2021, hitting an 8-year revenue low. In the narrative of international business, this is a staggering turn of events. So, what exactly happens when the guaranteed growth engine of the world suddenly stalls out? To answer that, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at the end of an era, drivers of the slowdown, disruption by local competitors, the strategic retreat, and finally, the new survival playbook. Let's get right into it. Chapter 1, The End of an Era. It's time to face facts. The golden age of guaranteed American brand dominance in China is officially over. Now, you might be wondering what's really driving this. The core issue here isn't just some temporary dip in sales, or a bad quarter on a balance sheet. It's way deeper than that. It is a fundamental loss of cultural and market relevance. The story these American brands have been telling for the last 20 years, it just isn't captivating the modern Chinese consumer anymore. Just listen to this admission from Nike management. They pointed out their reliance on exclusively Nike monobrand physical retail stores, but more importantly, they confessed, "We went to sportswear-oriented and not sport enough." I mean, that perfectly highlights how legacy strategies are failing. They completely misjudged the local narrative and products focus, leading hard into leisure and fashion when the local consumer actually wanted true sports performance. Which brings us to part 2, drivers of the slowdown. What exact forces are actually rewriting the rules of the game here? Well, experts pinpoint 5 major market forces driving this slowdown. We've got the basic price for quality ratio, we have hyperfast innovation cycles, we have distribution hurdles, we're seeing a profound shift in cultural relevance, and finally, the macroeconomic impacts of geopolitical tensions, specifically things like Trump-era tariffs and a rising nationalism that's encouraging folks to buy domestic. These are the powerful headwinds reshaping the entire economic landscape. Consumers are actively weighing their options right now. They're basically abandoning that old historical model of paying a huge price premium just for an American label. Instead, they're turning to nimble Chinese counterparts that innovate at just breakneck speeds. And the fascinating twist here? These local brands innovate so quickly precisely because they often served as the manufacturing suppliers for the global brands they are now out-innovating. They learned the trade intimately, and now they're leading the charge. And on top of that, we're seeing this profound shift in cultural relevance. Historically, the narrative was always that global fashion and trends flowed strictly from west to east. Well, not anymore. The Chinese consumer is no longer automatically looking to Western fashion capitals like New York, LA, Paris, or Rome for validation. Instead, they vastly prefer to champion, adopt, and drive local domestic trends. They are the authors of their own cultural story now. Let's move to Section 3, disrupted by local competitors. This is the actual battlefield where agile domestic players are steadily taking down American giants. A perfect case study for this narrative is the coffee wars. On one side, you have Starbucks, an early pioneer who basically educated the market, losing significant traction, even being forced into joint ventures just to operate. On the other side, Luckin Coffee, a highly aggressive, agile domestic competitor that is rapidly capturing the market. It's a classic David and Goliath scenario, except this David is moving incredibly fast. And this extends way beyond retail or food and beverage. 25%. That is the amount of global market share that automotive giants, we're talking General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, have collectively lost recently. And that bleeding is directly driven by losing this exact same competitive battle in China. The plot is thickening across virtually all major economic sectors. Section 4, the strategic retreat. Faced with these intense headwinds, a lot of American corporations are making some really drastic choices. Just look at the defensive maneuvers these companies are taking just to survive. Gap completely sold off its business in 2022, basically just breaking even recently. Abercrombie & Fitch is reportedly exploring a sale of its business. Tesla is rumored to be considering a segment spinoff to protect its assets. And Amazon? They exited meaningful operations early on. It's a sobering reality of once dominant characters having to exit the stage entirely. Section 5, the new survival playbook. Because every good narrative has a potential turnaround, and there is a clear path forward for those willing to adapt. Brands like Lululemon, KFC, Ralph Lauren, and Procter & Gamble are proving that incredible success is still absolutely achievable. The market isn't closed. It just demands a radically new approach. These brands are succeeding because they meticulously adjusted to local market dynamics rather than just resting on their historical global laurels. The story of Procter & Gamble is particularly revealing here. After 15 incredibly slow quarters, P&G finally saw growth again, and their CEO perfectly captured why, saying, "We knew we were in a lower growth market that needed us to drive market growth." That is a massive mindset shift, going from passively extracting wealth from a booming market to actively building and driving the market themselves. So, how did they execute this turnaround? P&G was methodical. Step 1, they changed their go-to-market strategy. Step 2, they changed their brand-building systems and capabilities. And Step 3, they completely changed the type of innovation being developed. They didn't just tweak a marketing campaign or lower prices, they overhauled their entire structural narrative. They modernized their systems from the ground up to fit a highly demanding new Chinese consumer. The overarching takeaway from this whole explainer is crystal clear. Winning today requires quality, innovation, and cultural relevance, not just low prices. You simply can no longer win in China at the opening price point with basic, low-cost goods. The consumer is vastly too sophisticated for that now. You have to compete fiercely on pure quality, relentless, rapid innovation, and a deep, authentic integration into their cultural relevance. So, I'll leave you with this provocative question to chew on regarding the future of the global economy. Can these legacy American brands genuinely pivot? Can they stop relying on their historical dominance and actually start winning strictly on quality, rapid innovation, and local cultural relevance? Are these massive, established companies truly capable of letting go of their past to embrace this new, hyper-competitive survival playbook? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating shift with me today, and I highly encourage you to keep a close eye on how this incredible story continues to unfold.